If you're job hunting right now, the hard part is not only finding the job, it's remembering what you found, reusing similar contents you've provided, and then tracking the overall progress. In case you were impacted by some of the layoffs by AI, you can use AI to help regain some of that power back and accelerate the job search process. So in this video, I'm going to turn a messy job search into one simple board that Claude Code can help manage. And here from our last video, I went through how to set up a kanban board with Obsidian to track your overall task and weekly output. And by the end of this video, you'll hopefully get to some form of this board here using Claude Code to generate most of the cards. So the first thing we're going to do today is we can either go into our terminal app, which is Ghosty, and then run Claude Code here in the same way that we went through it in the last few videos. Or some people like to live in Obsidian. So if you're already living in Obsidian and you're very used to the experience there, there's also a few plugins that you can add to accelerate this progress so that it's all in one place. So in the same way we did in the last video where we created a Kanban board, we're going to go into settings, going to community plugins, and then we're going to browse. And in the browse, we're going to type in ghost term. So this is just a terminal plugin that you can install, and then we'll enable that, and it will just give you the exact same terminal view here in Obsidian directly. So then you can look at all the files side by side. So on the left, you'll see open Ghosty terminal. I'm going to click on that. It's now going to open up a new terminal on the left side, and then we can use all the similar shortcuts to basically parallelize our search. So I'm going to do Command Shift D. So now I'll have two chat windows, which I can open up Claude Code. So we can do two searches at the same time, but in the same way, we can also open up a new tab. So I'm going to open a new tab here, and then you'll now be able to go to either tabs to do the search. So I'm going to actually use Codex here just to show you what we also talked about in our last video, where we can also use Codex for the same thing. And I have a video on how to set up Codex linking right here. And then I'm going to do Command Shift D again. And this is going to be really useful when you start parallelizing a lot more work with a lot of agents. And so I'm going to do another CX, and then now I'll have two Codex windows. And then if I shift back to the first tab using Command 1, I'll now be back in Claude Code. And so the first thing I'm going to ask Claude Code to do here is I'm just going to set up a new board to track my applications. And then the Claude Code can take tasks and basically complete them, do research on them. So I'm going to ask Claude to create an applications Kanban board with inbox, research, draft, submit, pause lanes. And then you'll see Claude Code create a new board that we can now use. And then here, I'm going to prompt another Claude Code, so we'll have it run in parallel, to add a task to our applications Kanban board to find PM roles in Los Angeles, and another task to find ads platform PM roles in SF. So now we'll go into this here, and then you'll see that lanes we have here. And then now I can just trigger off this new agent to this task. And that's just a quick setup so that you can now manually go into the applications. You can add new tasks, do research on Figma PM role, and then now you have that task. But at the same time, you'll also have Claude Code creating that task. And then now I'm going to switch tabs into Codex just really quickly, just so you can see the same thing with Codex. We'll focus primarily on Claude Code. I do find it much more enjoyable to use in the terminal, but in case you already have a ChatGPT subscription, which I have a video, which I'll link here, that you can use to set this up, so you don't have to pay for any additional subscription if you're already subscribing to ChatGPT. So here I'm going to ask it to, can you pick up a task from our applications board to do a job search for one of the cards. And then now I'll have a parallelized worker. So I'm just going to cancel and exit out of this one window just to simplify things. Another shortcut here, which I mentioned before, but I've talked to some people and it's easy to forget these things. I'll include some of the shortcuts in the description as well, so you can quickly reference, but Command W to close out the window. So now you'll have this full window here, and then you'll see this agent now working on this. And then, okay, so we'll go back here. So let's see which tasks Codex is working on. So they're doing the ads product manager role. So we'll ask them to do, can you do the search for the PM role in LA? So now that we let this agent cook and create the search, what I'll do first is I'll exit out of this screen right here, close out this window just so it does a full screen. Again, Command Shift D to open up a new terminal window. You can think about that as each one as its own chat. And then while it's searching that, I'll kind of go over this board you'll see here. Originally, it was in the inbox. The agent automatically moved it over to the research. And now you'll see the agent moved it over to the draft. So we can click on that now. And then you'll see that they have some descriptions. And so here, I can just click in here, apply, and I can review the work that I have, see any metadata information that it has here as well. So the one thing that always pained me in the past about searching for jobs is when I apply for something and I answer a few questions and I might tailor it to the job that I'm looking for. And then 2 weeks later, I can't remember what I wrote or where I saved it. And so I can't reuse that. So I'm recreating that material every single time. And what you can have any of these agents do is once it finishes this, I can ask it to create a template so that I can document some of these answers. So for example, Claude Code will ask you if you want to save them into a different card, you want to widen that net. You can ask it to write a new MD file that documents a lot of that so that you can remember that and track it. And what I actually do for a few projects I have, you can even just tell it to save into the project itself a workflow that you want. So every time you open up Claude Code, it'll just go through your kanban board and then it'll just run through those tasks so that on a weekly basis, every Monday, every Friday, you can just triage any tickets that you have, move it to the right category, and then you don't have to remember what you need to do anymore. And so you can just have the agent remember that. And then in this project in Obsidian, you can also make it so that these notes are reusable. Your resume, you can have the resume there, different variations of the resume, common application answers, portfolio links, interview notes. Then Claude Code can reference them directly in these applications. And when you're applying for them, you have all the relevant information that you need. So the workflow is simple, just like one board, as you'll see here, and you'll have one card per role, per search, and one folder where everything gets saved. And then you can basically end up in a board like this, where you'll have all the tasks that you need to do. Maybe you don't want to do it all at once. You want to think about it a little more and then kind of bring it over to the research. You start drafting them, submitting them. You can track all of them out, see them all in one place. And at a certain point, you won't actually really need to create any more docs or notes. You can have Claude Code do that all for you. And then that will hopefully simplify that process. But here, let's say I'm going to, can you create a MD file of this application and pre-fill it for me so I can store it locally for the future, and then give me the card link so I can view it. So you can ask Claude Code to create the notes and documentations for you. I think that's the one hard thing that when I talk to any of my friends of using AI and Claude Code, you'll still want to do things manually. And I think for a individual, when you can just pay a subscription where you're not getting charged by your total usage for each time you use AI, it can be quite expensive with the API costs. The subscription makes it a lot more affordable. And for personal use, it should allow you to do all of that manually. And so then we'll just let it cook some more and then it will create an MD file for us. And so here, I'm just going to exit this window out, exit that window out with Command W, just another shortcut. And you'll see here, it is writing this application right here. And so once it's finished writing it, you can actually view it in Obsidian. So we're going to go back to the applications board. you'll get used to waiting, as sometimes it could take some time. And that's where the advantage is of setting up multiple agents to do a task, and why setting up a more ergonomic terminal app such as Ghosty makes things a lot faster when you want to have, let's say, multiple chats at the same time, all doing different things, and you can watch it all side by side. And the shortcuts there being Command D, Command Shift D, and then quitting a lot of them with Command W. But you can also navigate between that from a shortcut perspective as well. And then let's go view the application. In here, you'll see that we'll have either that full research document that's in our board that our other agent did, and then we'll have this one right here. So then you can actually click on this link, apply, or the job URL, just look at the full job description and then any other tags that you want for it. And over time too, as you add more of this in, capture more of your documentation, one thing that I've always found difficult to do with using Obsidian was manually tagging everything and then linking them all together so that you can use it in a graph view. And now with AI, you can do that easier than ever. And right now, you link this application to our Kanban board so we can track as well. You can see it side by side. And then also in the plugin too, we have this side by side here, and then you can kind of open it up, view it in different areas as well. But if you prefer having it in the main window tab, if you're a power user with Obsidian, you like more customization, you can also go into Obsidian in the plugin window, and you can choose where you want it to be. In the main area split, main area tab, left sidebar. So then now open up on this side instead of on the other side. And then for this use case as well, you can open up in the terminal, open the main split, and then you'll have another window here that you can look at side by side. And then you can have this other window. And then let's go back to this. We can now go back and look at our board. And then this is the final output that you might get to. You can have them track all of your applications, create different folder structure. And something that I will do sometimes as well is ask it, this board is kind of not easy to use. Can you come up with a better organization structure? Or if you have a good idea of what the organization structure you want and you prefer, you can ask them to move into that structure. That's what I do often for other projects, depending on what project it is, where I care more about the structure. And so this one's taking quite a bit of time. And with some of the newer models, they end up thinking for a lot. In another video, I can talk about some of the advanced configurations that you might be able to set as you use this more. I think when you're first using Claude Code, just using the default setting will get you most of the way there. But I actually set my model to be an older model so I get more stable performance, better expectation. Right now, I currently use Opus 4.6. And you can see in the beginning of the video when we open it up, because this one is using the latest Claude Code version and model, it's using 4.8. 4.8 just came out a day or two ago. And so I think there's a lot of people talking about how there might be some performance impact and it might not be working as they anticipate it to. So with that, that is the end of the video. And if you have any questions, drop it in the comments. I'll try to get to every single question, and let me know if there's any other video content that will be interesting to you.